Hello everybody, and welcome to my live stream. This week I'm talking about atheism and my endorsement from the Freethought Equality Fund. I think it's important to talk about this because it is an identity that is important to me, and it's one that a lot of people don't understand. Probably the first question most people ask is, what exactly is atheism? And they've heard that word often in a negative context, often in the same context that they've heard with agnostic or agnosticism, and they don't understand the difference. So that's the first thing I'm going to talk about today. But first, when you're watching, feel free to leave your questions from now to the end. If it's something I've already answered, I'll probably skip it when we get to the Q&A, but you can always get yourself first up in the queue and I will get there. Also, feel free to comment just saying hi. I like talking with the comment section a little more than just speaking to my webcam. Also, please share this video with your friends, host a watch party. Let's get some more people watching here. Now, atheism and agnosticism, they're really two answers to two different questions. So, atheism is a question of belief. If I ask someone, hey, do you believe in God? And the answer is no, they're an atheist. If I ask someone if they believe in God and they say, oh, I'm agnostic, that's sort of like a lawyer dodging the question. How I ask you what time it is and you say, I ask you if you know the time and you say yes instead of, oh, it's 8:07. Agnostic is a knowledge claim where it answers the question, think belief in do you think it's possible to know that God exists? A Gnostic knows that God either does or does not exist. An agnostic thinks that question is impossible to answer. Whereas atheism or theism are purely questions of belief. Now, atheism can be a interesting word by itself because a lot of atheists actually use different definitions for it. They can say atheism means they do not believe in God, or that they believe there is no God. Now, there's a very subtle distinction there that I hope you catch. It's the flipping of belief and not. So do not believe in God and believe in no God. When you believe in no God, that's considered an active belief. That's a lot more in line with the kind of Gnosticism that people associate often with more theistic religions where you do believe in a God. Whereas the other definition, where you do not believe, that's simply a lack of belief. It's much more akin to an agnostic. But you can probably imagine where all this overlap starts to get a little confusing. I consider myself agnostic. I also do not, I also believe there is no God. So that's the more Gnostic definition of atheism there. And I'll tell you why. Richard Dawkins sort of defined this Gnosticism, agnosticism definition as a bit of a spectrum, where if you were a 0 on the scale, you were a 100% Gnostic about a God, believing you believe God exists 100%. If you're a 1, you still believe. You might have some doubts, but your gut tells you there's a God, and then you move closer to where I believe it's a 7-point scale. A 6 is an agnostic, where they're pretty inclined to say there is no God, whereas a 7 is your staunch atheist, believes 100% there is no God. I'd consider myself between a 6 and a 7 there, where I think it's statistically improbable that any one religion got it right. statistically improbable that the Christians got it right, that the Hindus got it right, that Jewish people got it right, that Muslims got it right, that the Nordic people got it right, that the Greek people got it right, on and on and on and on and on. That's my personal belief. And I completely understand if someone else wants to believe something different. But we're here talking about what I believe. And so I'll tell you something that I do believe, and part of that comes, I'd like to read you a quote from Madalyn Murray O'Hair, who's the founding member of American Atheists, a nonprofit that fights for separation of church and state in the legal realm in this country. And Madalyn Murray O'Hair says, "An atheist believes that a hospital should be built instead of a church. An atheist believes that a deed must be done instead of a prayer said. An atheist strives for involvement in life and not escape into death." She says he, I'll say they, want disease conquered, poverty vanished, and war eliminated. Now, some of that, I believe in all of that. I believe in more hospitals. I believe in more libraries. I would love to see world peace. I know this isn't a beauty pageant, and now actually those questions are getting a lot better. Like there are some excellent pageant girls who are answering very intelligent questions. But there are also a lot of religious folk who agree with me here. They want to see more hospitals. They want to see more access to hospitals. What I don't hear them saying, which I would like to challenge them a little bit more, is to recognize just how many religious hospitals we have and how potentially dangerous that can be for some people, especially with what's going on federally with the Trump administration trying to make it so that healthcare providers can stop people from getting healthcare based on their religious beliefs. So they can deny a trans person. They can make someone drive hundreds of miles away just for a certain prescription that they don't like. And I would love to be able to drive to work and see more hospitals and more libraries than churches, honestly. I understand the benefit that churches do provide for a lot of people, that the spiritual welfare of us all is an important thing. At the same time, our intellectual welfare and our physical welfare are also very important. I know that we can achieve spiritual welfare in other places, such as community gardens, such as parks, with our friends and families, at a grocery store, picking out fresh food, just in communal community. I was about to go on a tangent, but I think I'm gonna skip or stick to my notes here. So another criticism that atheists often receive is regarding faith. How some atheists like to criticize religious folk for saying their faith isn't valid, that faith is believing something without evidence, that isn't a good thing. I'll be honest, I'm slightly inclined to agree with that, but when they turn it back on us, they say things like, it takes more faith to be an atheist, to do whatnot. And usually this is in a context where the person doesn't actually understand evolution and they're talking about evolution, in which case they're wrong. It's plain and simple as that. But one thing I would sort of equate with faith is trust. And that's something everyone has. Everyone trusts in a certain part of their life. For many people, it's trusting their family. For many people, it's trusting our institutions, like our police and our fire department. For a lot of people, they don't have that trust. And that's another important thing we should address, where people don't have the trust in the police, maybe for good reason. For good reason in a lot of instances. But I place my trust in science and mathematics and things that I think definitely deserve it. I common phrase among atheists, I think Hitchens coined it, is, I could be wrong on that, and correct me in the comments if you know. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I would say that the God claim that a God exists, it requires extraordinary evidence, especially if you're talking about a specific one. If you're talking about one of the Hindu gods, if you're talking about one of the Norse gods, if you're talking about the Christian or Jewish or Muslim God, those should have evidence. That's my belief. That's a term called epistemology, is the study of knowledge, the study of how we can know things to be true. And I don't think faith is the best way to determine what is true. And another core value of mine is I think the world is a better place the more true things we believe. And that's not, I don't want to say that diminishing faith. I want to say that elevating things that we can verify are true. Things like climate change. Things like medically accurate sex education. Things like medically accurate medicine and healthcare, which includes mental and physical healthcare. And so moving back to climate change, I know that the secular community isn't alone in trusting our scientists. I know that is in the Catholic community as well. We see the concept of Catholic stewardship, where you, and please forgive me if I use any terms incorrectly. I did not grow up Catholic. I grew up in a Greek Orthodox community, and I honestly didn't pay attention a lot. It was very stuffy. But God gave you this planet to take care of. And I think we just happen to be here, and it's a great planet that we should take care of. And I think we can agree with the conclusion of that sentence, right? We have this planet and we should take care of it. And that's one thing I can commend Pope Francis on. I can commend him on his climate activism. I still think he could be a little stronger on it. I also think he could be a lot stronger on tackling the sex abuse, the pedophile priests, and women's equality and gay rights in the church. So, you're not going to hear me talk about Pope Francis in a positive light without hearing me talk about him in that light, because that is just as important. And, yeah. Moving on just a little bit to one last thing. Sorry, no, I have 2 more items on the agenda. People ask me, and other atheists, where does morality come from, if not from God? And first, I'd push back if it does. I don't think it ever does come from God. I think in most cases that's you externalizing your morality to God. And sometimes that's okay if it helps you internalize that. I think that can help. But think if you put yourself in Abraham's shoes and God tells you to murder your son. I want to say everyone listening to this and everyone watching this isn't going to murder their child because their God tells them to, because murder is wrong. They know that. That's their morality. And yeah, we can talk about trust and faith, but you can apply that to a lot of instances where it's your morality and you're projecting it on to God, and that's fine. That's fine. But where I get my morality from, it's... See, this is why it's fine, because that makes it a lot easier to talk about. It's a lot easier to say things that are easy, like murder is wrong, when you say it's because God said so. It's a lot harder to say because I have this visceral emotional reaction to murder and I physically can't stand it as a human. But we do have some science in this area. We have some science that shows that a lot of our morality, or what we say is our morality, is post hoc justifications for our emotional reactions. That's one thing that atheists get criticized for. A lot of atheists use just logic and reason for being atheists, and we're considered cold and calculating. But more of us need to understand that as humans, we're intensely emotional beings. And a lot of what we do is figure out what those emotions mean and rationalize it and figure it out. This amazing book, uh, The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt, Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion, really changed how I thought about this a lot. He describes our morality as an elephant with a lawyer writing on top of it. By the way, don't go to a zoo where they ride on elephants. It's just bad for their backs and whatnot. It's treat your elephants well. But his idea is the elephant goes where it wants, and the lawyer on top can sort of guide it a little bit, but his main job is to advocate for why the elephant is going there, to say it's a good thing that they're going there. And he also talks about sort of a suite of moral ideas that we all sort of mix and match. He calls them the taste buds of the righteous mind, where we get our morality. And he breaks it down into 5 categories: care and its inverse, harm; fairness and cheating; loyalty and betrayal; authority and subversion; sanctity and degradation. And we all fit in different places on those graphs, where we might balance caring for someone more or less than it being fair. So if someone's hungrier than another person, we might give them an extra chocolate bar, even though that's not fair. Or if someone is insulting our family member, we have this initial gut reaction. But sometimes they're right. Sometimes they're right to call out our family member. And our loyalty is misplaced. Our sanctity for the family is misplaced, and we need to judge what is actually true and accurate, and what is right given the respect we give for those people. That's the sort of nuance I put into all my moral decisions, where nothing is ever clear. Nothing is ever as simple as it seems. And one last point, which goes more to my theory of government and the importance of the separation of church and state. And this goes to everyone: atheists, Christians, Muslims, Jewish people, Hindus, if there are any Greek pagans out there listening. And it's the freedom of religion versus the freedom from religion. The freedom of religion is obviously the language that the authors of our Constitution wrote. And language is tricky. I tend not to revere the framers too highly, since, first of all, they didn't think this document was supposed to be, chiseled in stone. I think it was Adams who said we should re-up the document every 10 or 20 years or so, make sure that we're actually getting the consent of the governed. But freedom of religion, a lot of people interpret it to mean you can pick any religion you want, but you still gotta pick one. In some, especially Christian areas, they'll say, yeah, you can be any religion you want, whatever branch of Christianity you want, which is even worse. But what it really is a freedom from religion, which doesn't mean that everyone is separated from religion. When we as a people have freedom from religion from our government imposing religion on us, that means we can choose whichever religion or whatever, we can choose whatever religion or no religion. If we only had freedom of religion, then that's like the government saying, all right, here's your list of religions to pick from, now pick. And that's not what it is. That's not freedom. That's options. And I know that's also another subtle distinction. I I hope that's coming across well. I'm I've been trying to communicate these ideas for years to people, and I don't know if I'll ever feel like I'm good at it, but that's probably just my anxiety talking. I'm sure I'm getting better at it every day. Now I'd like to move on to your questions. Okay, I just didn't scroll. Awesome. I got scared for a second that there weren't any questions in here, and I was going to be very embarrassed. Tom Gray in the chat, a great friend, a great humanist. We also have many examples of moral behavior in other animals. Yes, we do have a bunch of moral behavior in other animals. I think there was a recent study done with mice that I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not gonna speak to it. Otherwise, I would not do it justice. I know we've seen a lot of moral behavior in chimps as well. Well explained using the idea that emotional responses to situations are pre-programmed. Yes, and that makes a lot of sense in an evolutionary perspective, where humans are an intensely social creature. That's how we evolved. It's a bunch of humans decided, hey, we all should, stop fighting. If we all band together, we can go take down that apex predator. Or we can go tame that apex predator in terms of a wolf. And then the wolves were like, oh yeah, we're pretty social too. Why don't we bond with you guys? So these emotional responses tie very well to social responses, punishing aggressive behavior so that we can form these tribes and cities and governments so that we as a human race can go to the moon. It's Tom Gray also enjoying The Righteous Mind. I really can't recommend that enough. The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt, Why Good People Are Separated by Religion and Politics. One really important thing that book helped me remember, and helps me remember every day, is that everyone is a good person. Everyone is trying to be a good person. A lot of people just have different ideas on what that means. For instance, Nebraska was trying to ban gay conversion therapy. It's a terrible practice. First of all, it doesn't work. Second of all, we shouldn't want it to work. We should want people to be able to be themselves. And I really want to just be absolutely furious at the people who do this. And I am. I am absolutely furious because they perpetuate serious harm on our youth. They are the direct causes of many suicides. But I also understand that when I'm having a discussion with them about why it's bad, I can't just call them an evil person because they think they're doing something. And I have to express with them and share with them why it's not good and why it's not the moral decision. I really can't recommend that book highly enough. It's fantastic. Sorry. Feel awkward reading these with all this dead time. I hope you all don't not enjoy this conversation, though. Freedom of conscience. I think I'll try to incorporate that into my vocabulary. Oh, you guys can probably hear Janora barking. That's my roommate's dog. No, wait, that's Scooby, isn't it? It's one of my roommate's two dogs. He probably just opened the garage door, and he might actually stumble in here, so we'll see. But Tom Gray is asking, what's the best way to break the news to family that you don't hold their religious beliefs? That's a good one. That's a really good one. Good one for especially some of our younger listeners. Um, you have to be honest with yourself about your parents at one level. you have to... Hey, I'm doing a live video. You mind if you wait like 5 minutes? Thanks! Told you guys. So... Sorry, I just completely lost my train of thought. In my experience, your family is always there for you. Is understanding and accepting at different levels. Like, my parents weren't always what I'd call the most supportive, but they also weren't unsupportive, if that makes sense. There are a lot of parents out there who would not accept it. And to those people, I have to tell you, don't risk it. If you don't have the financial freedom to come out to your parents about your different religious beliefs and you think they would cut you off and throw you out onto the street, it's not worth it. All right? That's why I'm here. That's why I'm in this fight, so that I can make us seem normal. Because we are just normal people. We don't deserve to be kicked out on the street like many of our atheists are, like many of the LGBT community is when they come out to their parents. And that's something you have to decide for yourself. For those of you who know your parents will understand, I do want to urge you to sit down with them and explain where you're coming from. If you're just doubting, then you can have that conversation. If you have, just share your thoughts with your parents. Share your thoughts with your loved ones. Tell people who you are, and you make it so much easier for the rest of us. Yeah, just like the LGBTQ rights movement through the 60s and 70s and 80s, people started realizing everyone knows someone who's gay. Everyone also knows someone who's an atheist. They just might not know it. Polling shows that non-religious Americans take up anywhere between 20 and 35% of Americans nationwide. It really depends on the question you ask. The most consistent number I've seen is 26 or 27%. So you're not alone. And you can have that conversation slowly. You can ask your parents, "Hey, I don't want to go to church this Sunday. I use my Sunday mornings for grocery shopping. There are no lines, the aisles are all clear, and it's my peace. I love it." I hope that answers... Oh, Chad is hearing my doggo. That was probably Scoob. I think he's like 9 years old. He's a great big black lab, and he's the cutest. And we've got Janora, who she's a rescue. She's a mutt of some kind, just lanky and big. And you try to pet her, but she rolls down on the ground, and then you have to lean over. And if you don't, then she just jumps all over you. It's a mess, but we love her. And yeah, Tom Gray talking about Anthony Magnabosco, he talks about street epistemology. It's basically like a Socratic method where you ask people questions about their belief, and you can really get a lot of interesting conversations about that. It's a really civil way to have a conversation. It's not accusation at all when you're asking questions. I'm getting another question. Yeah. Oh, yes. Just advice related to that last question for breaking the news to family. There's always someone that you can break the news to. You probably have some friends that support you no matter what. I know when I came out and I started wearing these shirts that just said atheist across my chest in big bold letters, some friends I started feeling a little more distant with, but a lot more I felt, oh, it was such a relief to have that off my chest and have these friends accept me still. And for those of you who don't know if you have that, you can call me. My cell phone number is 402-641-6322. That's on my website, josephcouch.com. My personal email's there as well. You can message this Facebook page. You can find me on Twitter. You can talk to me whenever you want about anything. If you're gay, lesbian, bisexual, queer, transgender, if you're an atheist, if you're a Muslim coming out to your Christian parents, if you're a Christian converting, if you're converting to Judaism, no matter what, if you don't think you're safe being yourself, you can come to me and I will figure out how to help you, even if it's just listening. Because I know how important that is. So we are coming up on the 30-minute mark. Yeah, I think we're gonna call it right there. I don't think. As always, these Q&As don't end here. You can always text me any questions related to my personal beliefs, related to policy. We can talk about how these relate to taxes. We can also talk about how the Christian faith might relate to some tax reform. You know, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and render unto God what is God. And I think I'd argue that the money is Caesar's, but we can talk. We can talk policy. We can talk faith. We can talk ice cream or pizza. I'm more of a pizza guy than an ice cream. I am about to start rambling, so I am going to close and say good night. Thank you to everyone joining me live. Thank you to everyone watching on YouTube afterwards. Please go to josephcouch.com, email me, text me, and send me money. If you can send me $1 or $2 recurring, that fills my heart. If you can send me 5 or 10, that helps fill my bank account a little more. And I'm not going to say that fills my heart anymore, because one person is enough. Every single time I hear someone thank me for running or tell me I have their vote, that fills my heart, regardless of if they give me money or not. But giving me money helps me spread that message to more people. So if you believe in me, please think of donating $5 a month, $10 a month, $50 now, $20 a month. I really like recurring donations. They help me plan a budget a lot easier for the sustainability. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me tonight, guys and gals. And I've been trying to say y'all more. First of all, it's only one word, so I don't have to say guys and gals. Also, it's more inclusive. So if this wasn't live, I would edit that. But thank you all, and good night.